Hi there guys, it is Octavian here, and this is going to be another episode of Challenger Specialists, episode 2, focusing in on Dabox's Veigar play, or Veigar, depending on your pronunciation. I'm not entirely sure exactly how to pronounce that name, but I'm going to stick with Veigar for this game, just for consistency's sake. But anyways, let me get into what this is actually supposed to be, and an explanation for those of you who haven't seen episode 1, which, by the way, you should go check out. Click on the screen now, you can go look at episode 1. It's good, you should watch it. I liked it. I like doing it. I hope you like watching it. It's good gameplay. Dabox is a good Veigar player. As if you stick around here, you'll find out. Anyways, it is focused on people who specialize in things and get to high levels of gameplay, as you may have deduced by the title, Challenger Specialists. People who take a role, take a champion, take a build. I don't think there are people who specialize in single builds, but take a champion and one that is underused, one that is underappreciated, perhaps, and bring them all the way up to the highest levels of play, as Dabox has done decisively with Veigar. And it looks like we might actually have a little bit of action in the mid lane already. Young Mula Baby and Dabox going for the 1v1. The Ignite has been dropped, the Flash has been burned, and Young Mula Baby just about does not get the kill. Already the explosive action in the mid lane here between the Urgot-Veigar matchup. I never, ever considered that I would ever cast that particular matchup, and I am so very excited to keep an eye on this mid lane this game. Looks like we might actually have the first gank of the game going towards there too. And Afromu and Doublelift going down for the aggression here onto Chaos and Sneaky. Sneaky playing the Kalista, by the way, newer champion, not quite the... Actually, yeah, Kalista's the newest because Azir and then Kalista. I have a good memory, I can remember these things. But Sneaky is playing Kalista there, so we get to see even more unorthodox gameplay, because while Kalista's been slowly rising in the amount that she's been played, because people have slowly been figuring out how to actually play that champion, she still is fairly low on the ladder in terms of play rate and indeed win rate. But there is Scoro getting hooked under the tower. Scoro, by the way, one of Doublelift Alt's account, so I'm going to try and stick to calling him Doublelift this game, though occasionally in the heat of the moment I might accidentally slip up and read the name above the champion rather than making that translation in my head. And so just try and recall that when I say Scoro, I do in fact mean Doublelift. But up in the top lane, Mr. Carter and Zerbeck going at the 1v1 here. Azir top, something else that we've seen a little bit of a rise in recently. Seems not to be able to hold its own too well against the Aurelia. And I apologize, if you look down at the scoreboard there, I actually have Azir in the mid lane and Urgot in the top lane on the scoreboard list. But down on the bottom side of the map, there's the Flay pulling Doublelift back in. The hook has not quite come out yet. He flings it off a little bit too far to the side. Now Afromu might be in some trouble. He does not have... Oh, he does have Flash Up, but he just about uses it right there. And Doublelift and Afromu both escape. Barely any health left on either of them. But Gangsta is here alongside Dabox. Meteos is here with Young Mula, though. And it's the 2v2 for the ages. Sneaky flashes away from that last auto attack that would have killed him. Doublelift down there going aggressive as C10 Meteos dashes in onto Dabox and picks up the first blood on Jungle Sejuani. Another champion that we've been seeing a rise to prominence with the last few patches. Just, this game is incredibly star-studded, has so many champions and matchups that I'm so excited to see. Things like the Azir top, of course, the Veigar versus Urgot mid lane. I don't even know where to call that one. I cannot say that I have ever seen that matchup before, let alone casted that matchup. Ooh, very nice Kalista hop there by Sneaky to get away from the Q from Lee Sin, and making good use of Kalista's passive, something probably which is the most intrinsic to Kalista's gameplay and one of the things that's most difficult to master. Along with the fact that Kalista cannot actually cancel her own auto attacks. Every other champion in the game can cancel their auto attacks with movement and with some certain spells. Certain, usually auto attack resets, will cancel an auto attack animation, allow you to get more damage out more quickly that way. But Kalista has no way of canceling an auto attack once the command has gone through, aside, I suppose, technically from death, that would cancel an auto. Afromu going very, very low. Both sides of the bottom lane here are playing this lane on a knife's edge, and actually very good use of the picks right there, getting Doublelift a few more CS under the turn. It's the small things that you notice that can really make a lane have a lot of synergy to it, and Afromu and Doublelift certainly have some synergy of their own. Ganks to swerve down on the bottom side of the map, looking to maybe make some sort of gank happen here, but Chaos and Sneaky have started to gain the advantage in this lane pretty decisively. Sneaky actually nearly at a 10 CS lead. The hook flies out, goes a bit wide as Doublelift dashes away, and Gangsta Swerve goes back to farming his jungle, taking out the giant frog that is the Gromp Camp. And actually, he's going very low. I wonder if he's going to be able to survive this one. We'll figure that out in a second. Maybe we'll see a death notification on the screen. If not, oh, there it is! A minion has executed Gangsta Swerve. Took on a little bit more than he could handle in the Gromp Camp, all by himself there. Chaos, speaking of all by himself, alone in the bush. He seems to be waiting for Sneaky to come back to the lane. Thankfully, neither Doublelift nor Aframu decided to check the bush, though Aframu is spamming taunts, so they might have a suspicion that someone's in there. Either that or he just likes to spam taunts with his free time. Mr. Carter and Zerback going at a 1v1 again up in the top lane. The knockup and the shield for Azir are going to be there, but Zerback is level 6. And so has the Transcendent Blades to get a bit of health back. So the trade goes about evenly, which honestly is probably in favor of the Aurelia. Now Chaos, coming down to the bottom side of the map, is going to be landing the hook onto Aframu, pulling him back, and young Willababy has run for the mid lane. Aframu has no summoner spells here, is not level 6 yet, so does not have wild growth, and in short, has absolutely no way out. That is going to be a kill going over to Sneaky. First kill of the game for him. Second kill of the game overall, the first one having gone to Meteos, who hasn't really appeared much past getting that first blood. I mean, if you get the first blood for the next few minutes, you don't have to do much. That's your contribution to the game there. But Carter getting stunned up in the top lane as Zerback goes right on in. He has Gangsta Swerve around for the gank this time, and is going to force out the Emperor's Divide just to keep Azir safe behind his wall of shield-bearing minions. Dabox had roamed up from the mid lane as well, though, looking to get some roam on for himself to counter out the fact that young Willababy did get 2 assists so far, was involved in both of the kills. Trying to come back into that lane a bit because he is starting to fall behind. Young Willababy has a CS lead of more than 10, actually, about 10 to 15 CS over Dabox's Veigar, which is unfortunate for him. Urgot, one of the things that I do know about Urgot in a lane is that Urgot can be an incredible force if he gets ahead in a lane. It's very difficult to get ahead. His range is not very high, and his tools are fairly obscure and difficult to use in a lot of different matchups. However, if Urgot does get ahead, he can be menacing. But up in the top lane, Gangsta Swerve going in onto Mr. Carter, and Mr. Carter is going to be going down. This time he does not have his shield-bearing soldiers to save him, and young Willababy, for another roam, comes down to the bottom side of the map. The tracking bolts are going onto Aframu. There is the Callista ult, throwing Chaos under the tower. Young Willababy is choosing to tank this one up. The hyperkinetic position reverser is not going to be enough to save his life. Aframu picks up the kill, and Chaos and Sneaky have to walk away with their tails between their legs, unable to finish off the dive and take revenge for their fallen Crabgot friend. Meanwhile, Veigar is roaming down to the bottom side of the map. There's a ping onto him, though, since there was a pink ward in the pixel bush, and so he was spotted on his way down. In the meantime, Meteos roamed to the mid lane and pushed that up into the tower, so Dabox does have to get back to his lane quickly if he doesn't want to miss that farm, but that means that the kills are evened up for the teams right now. Red team in that failed dive was able to pick up a kill. Meanwhile, top lane, we did see the gank from Gangsta Swerve, who is incredibly low in his jungle once again, doing the Raptor camp. Might actually get executed twice in one game. That would be a little bit embarrassing, but Doublelift dashing forward, a bit aggressive here. Doesn't really have the backup that he needed from Aframu. He was caught behind a little bit, and he's actually going to get punished for his aggressiveness there. Trades fairly poorly with Sneaky. And while we have some quiet on the map, I would like to talk about some of the other matchups, other than the mid lane one, which is what I was harping on, but maybe we don't have the quiet I thought we did. Sejuani's coming to the bottom lane. Doublelift is going very, very low. He is going to bring down the kill onto Sneaky before he falls, but in the end, he will die to the post-mortem damage from Callista. Now Aframu is the one in trouble. He still does not have his summoners up, but he was close enough to the tower to get back to the safety of those powerful, powerful tower shots. But young Willababy trying to run down to help his team out, forced to flash over the wall, but the Q was on him already. He was marked for that resonating strike. And so Gangsta Swerve followed him over the wall and took down the crab. That's going to be the second death for our giant enemy Crabgot, and his first roam was quite impactful, but the ones after that have not turned out to be as strong. Aframu just about dodging away from the hook that was flashed forward from Chaos. Had that connected, he would certainly have had the kill. Aframu was incredibly, incredibly low and still did not have his summoners up, but he was neatly able to dodge to the side of it, and the hook flew right past grazing Pix's feathers. Feathers? Wings. Pix is a fairy. They have wings. Anyways, Sneaky has returned to the lane. They're going to be pushing the tower up, pushing the minions rather up under the tower and going right for the dive. Sneaky's tanking it though. That's not who they wanted it on. The damage is proving too much for Callista, and now Chaos is in trouble. Gangsta Swerve has come from the jungle as well for a piece of the pie. The Q lands into the minion. He follows it up. Do they have the range finally? Doublelift dashes forward for the last auto attack, and that was a disaster of a dive if I've ever seen one. Picking up 2 kills for the enemy AD carry. Doublelift is 3-1-1 and starting to go pretty big this game. Finishing off the Brutalizer, looking to build into what appears to be a Yumu's Ghostblade. Not a surprising build for Graves to go for. Graves is focused entirely around bursting people down very, very quickly, landing multiple hits of the buckshot, because buckshot, it has a tri-cone, like 3 bullets within the cone, and if you land more than one of those bullets, it does more damage. So hitting someone right up in the face with the shotgun, not surprisingly, does more damage than hitting them from far away with a shotgun. In a similar fashion, the Yuma's Ghostblade is going to give him more attack speed and just more damage overall from the armor penetration, allow him to burst more quickly. But anyways, Chaos does land a very nice hook on a Doublelift, drags him back with the flay as well, but Doublelift is not going to give up that easily. He's continuing this fight. Lee Sin has showed up for the party as well. Sneaky gets hit by the Q, gets hit by the Chilling Smite, and there is the kind of unnecessary Dragon's Rage, but Gangsta Swerve really, really wanted to secure that kill, and they're going to go ahead and secure the tower as well, push down the outer tower in the bottom lane. Take that out in short order. First turret of the game going over to Red Team, and what appeared to be a pretty solid early game lead for the side of Blue has swung itself over the last few minutes to Red. And young Moolah Baby, this is not a very good place to be, my friend. Urgot running away through the jungle, doesn't have much farther to go before he gets taken down by a swift Q from Dabox's Veigar. So overall, this game swung, as I said, heavily in favor of Red Team. They have a 3-1-0 jungler and a 3-1-1 AD carry. And I don't see very many ways back into the game in the next few minutes for Blue Team, but they do have a pretty decent late game. I'm going to have to give them that. I mean, I know we're only 13 or 14 minutes into the game, but it's a bit early to be talking about the late game already, but I do love me some late game discussion, so I'll go ahead and start with it anyways. On the side of Blue Team, they've got the Azir, who is a powerhouse late game. I mean, he's not been having the kindest laning phase, but it's not been a crush either. Just a moderate CS lead for the side of Aurelia. They also have Callista, who appears to be building into... Gonna have to go with a Runon's Hurricane with the items in the inventory there. Probably not a wit's end. Meteos up in the top lane, maybe looking to bring this lane back to Mr. Carter. Actually, the first Sejuani ult of the game completely whiffs. And that is always a little bit embarrassing. But they did manage to pick up the flash, so at least that is some pressure garnered in the top lane. As Dabox and Aphromoo continue to push in mid. Ooh, hook from over the wall. Aphromoo not entirely dodging that on purpose, most likely, seeing as it was barely able to be predicted or seen by the side of Red Team. But Mr. Carter might be in some trouble here. Zerback is going right on in. He has the stun up because Mr. Carter has been trading pretty well so far, and so had a lot more hit points than the Aurelia, which honestly at the beginning of a fight with an Aurelia sometimes can even be a detriment, since now they've traded easily, and Aurelia is at about the same percentage of hit points as Azir, because it does work by percentage, by the way. Equilibrium Strike does not work by total hit points, but rather by percentage. That way an Aurelia who builds, say, Full Glass Cannon can still stun up a Cho'Gath who builds a ton of tankiness, or an Aurelia who builds a ton of tankiness can still stun up an AD carry. It's not about total hit points, it's not about the build paths they choose, it's more about how much damage, in terms of percentage of hit points that they've taken recently. But I digress, that is getting a little bit confusing, and I was correct about the Runon's Hurricane, which is an interesting buy. Sneaky choosing to go the Vampiric Scepter and then rushing right into a Runon's Hurricane. The attack speed, whoa, actually, young Moolah Baby getting locked up there by the Event Horizon and Dabox, finishing off the kill with a Primordial Burst. As Mr. Carter and Zerback go with the 1v1, but I would like to spend a little bit more time talking about that Runon's Hurricane. So, one of the reasons why you don't see Runon's Hurricane very often is because it's quite an expensive item that gives you a single stat, only attack speed. It does give you the unique passive, which is a wonderful passive. I mean, multiplies the amount of attacks that you get out, and if you have a champion who has an on-hit effect, that can be incredibly valuable. As there's the second Sejuani ult of the game, this time still not stunning anybody up, but it does slow up a few members of red team, but there's no follow-up because Sneaky is busy in the bottom lane pushing the tower, and he does actually get the tower to his credit, but he was not here to follow up on that ulti from Meteos, so it's a little bit of a wasted Sejuani ult. And oftentimes, I've heard it said by a good amount of jungle players that a Sejuani's performance in a game can very heavily rely upon the first 1 to 3 ultimates that are used by that Sejuani, because Sejuani is really powerful at 2 points in the game. She has strong early ganking because she has a lot of CC. Most of it slows, but she does have a good amount of ability to hold someone down, and she has some decent mobility, so she can get into the lane, she can make ganks happen really easily. She also has a strong teamfight presence with the Glacial Prison being able to lock people in place. If the enemy team isn't careful, it can lock the entirety of the enemy team in place for a good 1 to 3 seconds, I believe, depending on the rank, though don't quote me on that. The thing is, though, Sejuani does not have a ton of damage later on in the game. Thankfully, her team is built somewhat around that. They have an Azir who's going to be providing tons and tons of damage, as well as Kalista, who looks to be going for a more teamfight-centric build with this Runon's Hurricane that I keep on coming back to, but that's because it's such an interesting item. Now, as I was saying, it is very expensive for a single stat, the attack speed. But because Kalista can stack infinite spears into someone before pulling them all out and doing a big burst of damage based off of how many spears have been stacked up, building attack speed on Kalista isn't the worst thing to do because she gets damage as a result of attacking faster. Much more damage than pretty much anybody else does as a result of attacking faster. I mean, you might say the same thing about Vayne. She gets the Silver Bolt procs because she attacks faster. But I digress. It looks like Dabox might be engaged upon in the jungle here. There is the Sejuani ult going to be stunning him up. Used only on him, though, and now it's a bit more of a fight than just a 3v1 against a Veigar. The hook flashed away from Aframu over the wall, followed up by Mr. Carter, though. Flash away over the wall as well from Chaos. They really want to continue this fight. Sneaky leaps over the wall with the Kalista passive as well. Meteos is flashing forward. They want to bring down this Lulu, and they do. They do, in the end, take it down. Meteos going to be finishing off that kill. Doublelift is here, though, and he is trying to go big, but he is shut down. Double kill for Sneaky. But Zerbeck has been pushing the top lane this whole time. They're going to be trading it for the dragon, most likely coming up in a minute or so. Though actually, death timers aren't too long. We're not even 20 minutes into the game yet. Despite the fact that blue team had a pretty decisive victory in the area of the dragon pit, they still might have to fight for this dragon. Meteos is going to go on back to base. He'll be around here in time for it to show up. And one of the nice things about building the Runons, which I continue to bring up, but it's because it's such a... It's actually sort of a game-changing pickup just in and of itself. It changes what this AD carry is going to be doing simply because of that one item pickup. And one of the interesting things about it is that it allows Kalista to be much more of a pusher. Because Kalista, with the Runon's Hurricane, is obviously going to be sending out little bolts at all the other minions whenever she attacks any one minion in a wave, and that means that a wave is going to die incredibly quickly. And it gives them another method of getting really good map pressure, because they don't really have tons of ways of doing that. Urgot is not the best at pushing a lane. Azir is pretty good because his soldiers do have AoE damage, but Dabox, whoa! The event horizon nearly like pixels away from stunning up Sneaky. That was a very close one. Skin of her teeth right there for Kalista. Anyways, it looks like both teams are shaping up for a fight in the mid lane here. Meteos maybe looking to engage something. Right now, I would have to say that with the Bloodthirster finished off on top of the Hurricane, Sneaky has hit something of a power spike that, in a team fight situation, actually, I want to say isn't matched by Doublelift, but that all depends on Doublelift. That all depends on where the buckshot and the collateral damage are dropped. Nice flash away from Mr. Carter, gets himself right out of the event horizon. Dabox is going very low, being chased out by young Mula Baby. This Urgot is trying his best to bring down the Veigar. Finally, a flash forward from Sneaky does get the kill, and then he goes big through the rest of this fight here. Young Mula does take the second kill into Zerbeck, and Gangsta Swerve has barely any hit points left, and is running his way through the enemy jungle. Might actually be able to escape here. He does have the Boots of Mobility, so he's got a lot of speed to his name. And he's managed to create some distance, and yeah, he's gonna go ahead and grab the execute. I mean, it's not as good as escaping with your life, but whew, that hook again from from out of nowhere. Aftermoon just about dodges a hook. Scaro picks up the kill onto Mr. Carter and might actually pay for it with his life. Gets a double kill! Before he does so, though, well played by Doublelift, and Afromu, trying to stick around to help Doublelift out, is going to pay the price. Rampage for Sneaky. Overall, I think that was a 2-for-2 trade after the 1-for-3 trade. Lots of trades went on. Overall, in favor of blue team over all of that, but perhaps not now that Dabox has found Young Moolah Baby. The Dabox is going very, very low. Young Moolah Baby picks up the kill. I did not expect the Urgot to put out that much damage in a 1v1 with a Veigar. Whew. If his Ignites... No, actually, Veigar's Ignite was up. But if his Deathfire Grasp had been up, he would have won that fight without giving up his life. But them's the breaks. Sometimes you don't have your Deathfire Grasp up when you need it up, and then you give up the kill of the 1v1 with Urgot. I mean, we've all been there before, right? The 1v1 in the mid lane with Urgot between Veigar. That's a situation we can all relate to. That happens in every game I play. That doesn't happen ever. That's not something which happens. Sneaky, going to be taking away the red buff. Now that happens a bit more often. And building more attack speed. So, apparently, I mean, he's doing pretty well with it. He's 6-3, and I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. I live right next to a train station, so sometimes large metal things go by on rails and make lots of noise. But we'll try and ignore that and go on with the cast. Sneaky is showing us exactly how powerful an attack speed Kalista build can be. He's got 3 attack speed focused items in his inventory. The Berserker's Greaves, though I suppose you could call those more movement focused items, but they do have attack speed tacked onto them. The Runons, which is the like epitome of attack speed items, the opus for attack speed, and Azeel, which allows him to also move and attack faster. So really focusing on getting around quickly and attacking quickly and just generally doing things quickly. But Chaos might be caught out here along with his AD carry. The Transcendent Blades from Zerbeck doing a bunch of damage. Sneaky is down to half health already, though they are juking around the enemy. They might be able to escape out of the jungle here before they give up anything too much. Thankfully, the teleport for Mr. Carter was up, so he's here for the fight. Sneaky's doing some good damage to Zerbeck. He's caught up in the Dragon Pit, forced to flash over the wall. The burst from that E is incredible, and the Ignite is burning, but it's not going to be enough to bring him down. Meanwhile, the box is getting stunned up along with Doublelift. He does survive, though, thanks to the saving graces of Afromu, and Doublelift forced to pop his... Does he have... No, he does not. That was a Mikhail's Crucible that Doublelift popped to be able to get out of there. Gangsta Swerve does not have one of those to help him out, though. And so he is going to be going down to the damage from the Birdman Emperor. And Afromu going to be going down as well. Double kill for Mr. Carter. And they're going to go ahead and push up the bottom lane. Probably. I think so. Doublelift is split pushing mid, though. He's drawing some of their attention over that direction. Chaos is here to try and deal with him, but I don't know how they really can. Dabox is playing a very dangerous game here. Ooh, turns around with the Deathfire Grasp onto Mr. Carter, actually. Does some good damage, but Sneaky's coming under the tower. He is unstoppable! And as I was saying, Dabox was playing quite a dangerous game there, but Zerbeck had enough time to teleport into this fight here. The Emperor's Divide does knock him away, though, and now he's in a 1v1 with Sneaky off to the side, but Meteos wants to make it more than just a 1v1. The slow for Meteos might be enough to lock Zerbeck up. He is Aurelia. He does have a lot of that tenacity, CC reduction, but it's not going to be enough to save his life, because ultimately they did not kill him with the CC, they killed him with the damage, and he didn't have enough reduction of that. Meteos, though, out of mana, not going to be able to go for this fight with Gangsta Swerve. Gangsta Swerve probably realizes this, tosses in the Q, but Sneaky has a lot of mana, and he's nearby. I don't know if Gangsta Swerve really wants to go for this fight. There's a lot of damage coming out of Sneaky. He is dominating with that E burst once again, showing us how powerful the attack speed Kalista really seems to be able to be. Pick up the crab as well, because why not get free vision on the map there? Even if the dragon is down, that's just such a valuable place to have vision, and the speed buff can be nice at times as well, especially when you're skirmishing, as these guys are continuing to do in the area over and over again. Getting that extra speed buff every once in a while can really make the difference. But speaking of differences, there is a gold difference of barely anything on the map right now, only about 200 or 100 in either direction, which is odd, because there is a 5-2 turret lead for the side of a red team. But where is that gold being made up, you may ask? Well, I mean, Meteos has 103 farm to Gangsta Swerve's 65. Now, That is a lot of farm for a jungler, especially at only 25 minutes in. Young Mula Baby forced to pop the ulti onto Dabox to try and save his own life, but it's not going to be enough. Zerbeck is around to provide the last little bit of damage to help out his friendly Veigar. And now Chaos. Chaos is under fire, quite literally. The ult from Sneaky is going to save his life, though, but Sneaky doesn't have a way to turn himself invulnerable to flash away. Oh my god, he doesn't go down, and he manages to get the kill onto Aphromoo as well. And Skoro falls over to the damage, and Sneaky is still kiting back. Finally he falls. Zerbeck picking up the double kill, but he is going to pay for that with his life guaranteed. Mr. Carter picking up that kill, and that was insane Kalista mechanics. Just surviving 2, 3, maybe 4 times. I'd have to rewatch it to tell you exactly how many times, but surviving an innumerable number of times. With less than 100 of his hit points left, Sneaky showing us that he is indeed one of the best AD carries in the country. If not, perhaps the world, though I don't really want to make that judgment call off of a single solo queue match. Let's not get too hasty here. Gangsta Swerve, forced to back away from his attempted counter jungle. Actually, yeah, he still finishes it off, tosses out a Q, takes it away with the coconut, and then takes the coconut, drinks it, and heads on back home to base. That is some style right there. But while we have some quiet on the map here, Dragon is live, by the way, so it looks like the teams might be rowing down towards there to go for that particular objective. Very, very valuable pickup to kill the scaly brown lizard rather than the scaly purple lizard. Just colored lizards, basically. That's the point of League of Legends, to kill colored lizards. Blue ones, red ones, brown ones, purple ones. And then enemy crystals. But the crystals are secondary. You have to kill the lizards. But I digress. Looks like they're going after the brown winged lizard. Meteo's tanking that one up. He has become quite tanky at this point. Finishing off another Giant's Belt on top of the Sunfire Cape that he's got and the Juggernaut enchantment. He is certainly living up to the name of that enchantment. Meteos is a juggernaut right now, and there is no better word for it. Sneaky, by the way, something that I meant to mention at the beginning of the game, but I have not actually been able to get to because so much action all the time. Yeah, Lord, good God. He bound up with Chaos rather than Meteos. I expected perhaps for him to go with a Sejuani bind, but ooh, Sejuani pulled out of danger right there by a nicely placed Dark Passage from Chaos, keeping the pig-riding lady alive. And as I was saying, I thought perhaps we might see Sneaky go with the Kalista passive attaching to Sejuani, because while the passive part of Kalista's passive is very, very nice for laning, basically anytime... Whoa, Chaos flashing forward, actually, flaying back Zerbeck, and Zerbeck is surrounded by 5 blue health bars, but he managed to nearly bring one of them down. Mr. Carter forced to flash out of the team fight, but so far Young Mula Baby has picked up a kill, and Sneaky has picked up another 2-4-0 trade. Very nice Event Horizon by Dabox, does lock them up long enough to save the rest of the team, but it was a 2-4-0 trade overall, and Baron is still being danced around. Meteos looking to maybe make some sort of engage happen while Mr. Cart... No, sorry, that's Young Mula Baby on Urgot off to the side there. Some good harass on the Gangsta Swerve. Actually, the pincer movement, if you'll forgive the terribly bad joke, does manage to force Lee Sin to flash over the wall. And some good damage onto Doublelift as well. Young Mula Baby is actually hurting a lot right now. He's finished off a few good damage items in his inventory. He's got the Muramana transformed into the Manamune, or I always get that one backwards. The Manamune transformed into the Muramana, and as well as a lot of armor penetration in the form of a Brutalizer and a Last Whisper, and then a bit of cheap resistances for the Hex Drinker. Hex Drinker, by the way, is one of the most cost-efficient magic resist slash AD, well, it's the only magic resist slash AD items in the game, but it's one of the most cost-resistant magic resist items for an AD champion to pick up, because it doesn't only offer the magic resist, it also offers that shield, which is a more effective health, which is incredibly, incredibly valuable when determining the effectiveness of resistances. So, if you're up against a magic lane and you're playing an AD champion, like, say, Zed, or I suppose Urgot versus Veigar, if you ever find yourself in that situation, I don't know if you would, please send me that replay, I'd be happy to look at it and cast it for you. This one's been fun enough. I would suggest building that item, but that's just my humble suggestion. Anyways, Aphromoo getting hit by the spear in the mid lane, and I did want to take a look at what Sneaky was doing with his skill orders and how he was leveling up those skills, but with his item choices, I can pretty much assume where he's going in terms of what gets maxed first. He is maxing the E first, then the Q second, most likely, because he is trying to stack up those spears inside of an enemy as quickly as humanly possible spiritly possible. I don't think that Callista qualifies as human. And then pulling them all out, ripping them out very painfully all at the same time. Gangsta Swerve caught out in the jungle there. Meteos actually did a decent amount of damage for Sejuani, engaging on there and bursting away maybe a quarter of his hit points, as young Moolah Baby managed to land the homing bullets as well. The homing Qs, rather. I'm not entirely sure what those things even are that he fires out, especially as Crab got... Does he just fire off a claw and then, like, regenerate it? It's getting a little bit off track there. Let's get back into the analysis of the game itself, rather than the analysis of how crabs work and what they shoot at people. That's not really what you're here for, is it? You want to hear me talk about video game. Young Moolah Baby getting hit by the Chilling Smite. The red buff is on Gangsta Swerve as well, and there's the flash pulling him into the team! Beautifully played by young Moolah Baby. Waited for him to follow up on the Q, then flashed into 3 of his other teammates, and Gangsta Swerve instantly regretted his decision. Did not have very much time to regret it, perhaps past that instant, though, before he went down. Now, Chaos going to be going down almost as instantly, as Doublelift bursts him away after Dabox stuns him up very nicely for him, puts him on a silver platter, or puts him in a purple circle for him. And then they're going to push up the mid lane. So despite the fact that they did just lose their jungler, they might be able to make something happen on the map here. Young Moolah Baby is making some sort of engage onto Zerbeck, but Zerbeck is turning it right around. Finally, the ulti comes out from young Moolah Baby, but he goes, no, he doesn't go down. He manages to finish off the kill into Aurelia just before he does. And C9 Meteos, or C10 Meteos, I suppose, on this Smurf, is dashing forward to try and make an engage happen, but can't quite catch onto the tail of Dabox, who has built those boots of mobility, by the way, looking for some extra movement speed on Veigar. Something which he always recommends to do. I've read a few guides by Dabox on how to play Veigar, since the guy is one of the best. Aftermove actually flashing forward to land the polymorph onto Sneaky. Sneaky gets caught up by the stun, but nobody is there to follow up onto him. Doublelift finally gets to the backlines there. He's picked up a double kill for himself. He's chasing after Sneaky still. Dabox is incredibly low on health, but nobody's around to finish him off. And it looks like Sneaky is going to be falling over. Doublelift chased him too relentlessly. And, young Moolah Baby and Chaos are still looking for this fight, though. The flash forward, the hook lands on a Gangsta Swerve. Dabox is around to try and do the best he can, but he's so low on health, he really can't get into this fight without risking dying. Doublelift is far too into it to really be able to turn around and leave at this point, so he decides he'll take someone with him, brings down Urgot as he falls, giving up the kill to Meteos. And once again, a fight which was not decisively won by anyone. This game shall never end, shall it? I will continually cast the game of the Urgot versus the Veigar until, at some point, perhaps this matchup will seem normal to me, and I will be confused when it does not happen in the future, but I digress. I've been doing a lot of digressing this shoutcast. I would like to take a look at the item builds, because we are getting close to 6 of them being in people's inventories, and that is the point when item builds become their most interesting, at least in my opinion. Looks like Aurelia, aside from the Triforce, is going for a fairly tanky build, which makes a lot of sense. They've got a good amount of damage on their team. Doublelift is certainly providing a bunch of burst himself, and then they got the burst from Veigar, so they're really not looking for like a sustained sort of team fight. They're looking for some kind of catch and then a big burst, whereas on the other side, Sneaky can provide tons and tons of sustained damage without barely even spending mana, really. All he has to do is cast the E now and again, and he can do tons and tons of burst after just landing 3 or 4 auto attacks. And with a static Shiv and a Runon's Hurricane, and of course the Berserker's Greaves on top of that, he gets off so many attacks in so short of a time that if the fight isn't over within the first second or 2, or at least if Sneaky isn't gone within the first second or 2, Red Team is at a serious disadvantage, because they do not have the sustained kind of damage that an Azir and a Callista can pull out at 34 or 35 minutes into the game. Speaking of Azir, he was split pushing up in the top lane, and I mean Urgot, back to my previous point, Urgot, I realize, can actually do some pretty good sustained damage as well. He's something of a semi-AD carry himself, especially with the build that we've seen young Moolah going with. He's got a lot of damage in there. Meteos a little bit close to the enemy team. The Q lands onto a minion, so Gangsta Swerve is behind him. He gets knocked into the stun from Veigar, but blue team is starting to retaliate here. Doublelift does get the shutdown gold onto Meteos, and there is Sneaky! That is what Dabox needed to do. He bursted him down, and so red team is turning this one around. Young Moolah Baby, though, is around, and he's sort of a secondary AD carry. He does take a double kill home with him before he goes to his grave. And overall, that is 2 members of red team left standing to only 1 from blue, and it's Chaox's support Thresh, which is admittedly very impressive, but just in terms of the champion, not very good at defending these turrets. Doublelift and Aframu going to make short work of that outer turret, which only had an auto attack, two or less even health remaining on it, and Chaox is in a lot of trouble. The Flay and the hook actually holds him up after Thresh dies, connecting to the corpse, but it's not going to be enough to bring down Doublelift, and Doublelift does have enough to bring down Chaox, as well as the inhibitor turret, and then back right on out of there. That is the first inhibitor turret of the game going down at 35 minutes in, which you'll see games that go 60, 70 minutes even, but oftentimes in high-level solo queue, you won't even see a game go past 25 or 30 minutes, so seeing only the first inhibitor tower falling at 35 or 36 minutes in is a bit of an oddity and means that we have quite a grudge match on our hands between these guys, and it may go on for a good amount longer, because while Blue Team did lose that fight, it was not incredibly decisive. They managed to bring down 3 members of Red Team before they gave up the Ghost, and if the next fight just has a few more links out of place or in place for either side, it could swerve in the other direction. Both sides seem to be returning to just clearing out their jungle a bit, getting a bit more extra gold into their inventories. Never really a bad thing, reaching towards that 6-item mark. Though for Dabox, he has built such expensive items that he's actually not very close to the 6-item mark yet. He's going to be flashing forward. Speaking of Dabox, doing a huge burst of damage, and those 3 that he has seem to be enough. He brings down Young Mula nearly instantly. Sneaky's doing his best to kite back, but it's very, very difficult to kite away from an Aurelia and a Lee Sin. Dabox is there with the last little bit of damage that was needed to bring down Callista, and it looks like they're going to go right in onto the inhibitor next. That thing melts like butter. And they're just going to tank up these Nexus turrets. They have no reason not to right now. I mean, Meteos is around. He actually lands a very nice stun. Mr. Carter comes in for the backup damage. He is the damage source. Meteos is the CC. They might be able to hold them up for a little bit longer here. The knockup lands onto Dabox. He's going very, very low, but they haven't been able to bring anybody from Red Team down. They've brought their health bars low, aside from Doublelift and Aframu, but they haven't been able to actually take anybody out. And so these Nexus turrets, as soon as the minion wave shows up, which is right about now, are not very long for this world. Aframu, speaking of not long for this world, he's in Zodius. He has barely any health left. He might be going down here. Mr. Carter is going to fall. Picks up the triple kill. The triple kill as he dies. Doublelift is getting swapped back from the ulti. There is the double kill for Young Mula and an ace for Blue Team when everything was on the line. They come rushing out of their base. They pick up 5 kills. A double kill and a triple. 2 plus 3 does indeed equal 5. They pick up the ace and they're going over to the Baron. Meteos Chaox and Young Mula Baby gonna be starting this one off, and nobody, of course, seeing as it was an ace, is alive for Red Team to contest. This is gonna be going down for them. However, they do have a huge minion wave streaming into top. They have super minions rushing up the mid. There's even a big minion wave somewhat far out, but still threatening the bot lane. They're gonna get this Baron, but that is not the end of their problems. They have got to be precariously careful with the next few team fights here. A loss in any of the fights to come up, or a loss even in just map movements and allowing somebody to split push through their defenses, could prove fatal, could prove to be the last blow in this game, because they have a single Nexus turret left that has less than half of its hit points. It is a Nexus turret, so it will be regenerating hit points over time, but not incredibly quickly. And Red Team has all respawned at this point, and they look blood hungry. They will not make that same mistake twice, most likely. Yeah, they're waiting in a bush here. They're looking to try and ambush somebody. They did start off the red buff here, but that was spotted out by a Callista Ghost. Very, very helpful little vision friend there. And so Gangsta Swerve and Aframu have the little eyes over their head, and I think that's actually a visual glitch over Gangsta Swerve's head. Yeah, the vision has worn off of Aframu, so at this point I believe it's worn off of Gangsta Swerve as well. I apologize for that. Sometimes in replays you'll get small visual glitches. That's actually a fairly common one, but I'm too far into this cast to cancel it now. I think we can overlook that, if you'll pardon the terrible humor, and continue on with the cast here. Red Team and Blue Team meeting up near the dragon. This fight could determine the game, or it could just extend it. Skoro is trapped in the dragon pit. C9 Meteos is coming in to try and push him out. He does go for the 1v1 here, but Doublelift is able to pull off this 1v1. Meteos might have bit off of him more than he could chew. He cleanses himself out of the stun there. Callista does manage to bring down the dragon, but at what cost? Doublelift is coming around behind from the side to flank around blue team. There is the burst into Young Moolah Baby. Dabox nearly brings him down, takes himself into the middle of the enemy team there with the hyperkinetic position reverser. Meteos gets out with barely any health left. The ignite is burning, but he's not going to be falling now. Sneaky is doing his best to kite back, but Doublelift flashes forward. He gets a kill onto Sneaky, and this could be the end of the fight right here. Chaos is going to be falling as well. Double kill for Doublelift as Aurelia takes a kill of her own and now is going to be teleporting to the mid lane. There is a super minion wave pushing up that lane, and the dragon seems like a small price to pay for potentially victory right now. Meteos needs a miracle to be able to hold off red team. It's going to be going in onto Zerbeck, but I don't know if he has enough damage. The Ranger's Trailblazer Smite will stun up the minion wave for a little bit, but is not going to be for very long. The Nexus turret falls. Meteos is all alone. He has no teammates right now. He's doing his best. He's getting desperate, but he goes down. Zerbeck takes him out, and this is going to be the victory. Red team picks it up. Thank you guys for watching. That was an incredibly fun game to cast. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you next time. Hey there guys, thanks for coming along. My name is Octavian and I'm very happy to have all of you here. If you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching everything that came before here, and I thank you very much for continuing to be around. I absolutely love doing this, but encouragement and, I don't know, a sustained audience certainly doesn't hurt. So thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see you then.